tea imports, and all imports from Great Britain and Ireland, beginning December 1st, 1774, banned consumption of said goods after March 1st, 1775, and banned exports to Britain, Ireland, and the British Caribbean after September 10th, 1775. Patriots claimed the association bound all colonists, whether they signed it or not. Hanging, drowning, and burning tea symbolized conformity to the association, support for Congress, and acceptance of patriot legitimacy. The association was the most important expression of pre-war support for the patriot cause and America's founding attempt at prohibition. This was one set of ways tea mattered. Like prohibition 150 years later, the tea ban was a failure. It failed because of another way tea mattered, as a drink for North America's growing consumer classes. Because of this, patriots enforced their ban on tea in word more than deed. Merchants sold tea under the counter, and colonists drank it in private. The boycott fizzled out. When Congress reauthorized tea in April 1776, it reasoned that because so many colonists ignored prohibition, the ban was meaningless. Like the colonial officials who had tried enforcing the ban on trade with the French Caribbean 15 years earlier, patriots found colonists had a greater appetite for consumption than politics. Tea was no less symbolically important for this, and tea's central symbolic role in the Continental Association linked to other issues, such as how patriots mobilized the populace and controlled the distribution of information. Signing the association functioned like a test oath, even as patriots policed actual consumer compliance lightly. Checking whether colonists lived up to their claims about not consuming tea and British manufactures would have alienated the populace. By contrast, news of tea protests, emphasizing popular enthusiasm, printed in patriotic newspapers and distributed in the new patriotic postal system, could build support for the common cause. The association was signed in a public performance designed to mobilize the public. Tea burnings were often reenacted a second time in print. Even if townsfolk did not burn all their tea, and no one in power ever heard of their protest, the spectacle acted out patriotism and built a sense of shared experience. But one must read patriotic accounts of these events with care. Tea protests were not signs of American national consciousness, as Timothy Breen argues. Abstention did not make U.S. citizens. Breen, one of the most influential scholars on the intersection of consumption and politics in the American Revolution, brings new insights to the study of consumer politics. His work, however, relies heavily on examples of colonists denouncing tea and other consumer goods. These denunciations usually occurred only when a colonist was caught. But is being caught evidence of the ban's enforcement, or of its violation? Breen does not say, but the few who were caught imply a larger body of consumers who were not. Breen also relies on patriotic newspaper reports without any awareness that patriots, like other political actors, presented self-serving accounts of events to the public. Tea renouncements and patriotic essays were public speech about non-consumption, precisely the ideological content from which Breen attempted to distance himself. Much of this speech used the idea of virtue to connect private non-consumption to the public good, but the evidence that colonists were virtuous enough to affect the public weal is lacking. Breen provides little evidence for what colonists did about the things they supposedly boycotted. Not a single merchant's papers are consulted, nor are diaries used to show how colonists behaved during non-consumption. Yet appreciating the gulf between public